Are you weak or mentally unbreakable? The Stoics knew the answer. Too many men let their emotions dictate their lives, making them slaves to impulses, anger, and fleeting desires. But here's the truth. A man who loses control over his emotions loses control over his life. Have you ever said something in anger that you later regretted? Have you ever let fear stop you from taking action? The greatest men in history, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, knew that true strength lies in mastering emotions, not being controlled by them. So, ask yourself, are your emotions ruling you, or are you ruling them? 1. Lose control over emotions. A man hears an insult and his blood boils. He lashes out, reacting in the heat of the moment. But what does this achieve? Nothing. The Stoics teach us that emotions are just reactions, temporary, fleeting, and often destructive. The real question is, do you want to be the man who reacts or the man who remains unshaken? The difference is life-changing. A man who controls his emotions earns respect. A man who lets them control him loses it. Seneca once said, "Most powerful is he who has himself in his own power." Imagine walking into any situation, an argument, a challenge, a failure, and standing firm like an unshakable mountain. No anger, no fear, no panic, just absolute control. That's the power of emotional mastery. The world tests you daily. Someone cuts you off in traffic. Your boss criticizes you. A woman rejects you. What do? Do you react like a child or remain composed like a true Stoic? Every moment you control your emotions, you gain power. Every moment you lose control, you give power away. Now, here's a challenge for you. The next time something triggers you, pause, breathe. Ask yourself, is this reaction serving me or is it enslaving me? Because the truth is, weak men are emotional, strong men are rational. Which one are you? Comment below. What's the biggest Stoic lesson you've learned? 2. Seek validation from women. Are you living for yourself or are you living for approval? Too many men make one fatal mistake. They seek validation from women, believing it will bring them confidence, purpose, or even happiness. But here's the harsh truth. The moment you need validation, you give away your power. Have you ever changed your behavior just to impress someone? Have you ever felt anxious, waiting for a reply, hoping it means something about your worth? The Stoics would call this weakness. True confidence comes from within, not from external approval. So ask yourself, are you leading your own life, or are you letting others dictate your value? Imagine a man constantly chasing approval, texting first, overanalyzing every interaction, molding himself to fit what he thinks women want. Does this sound like strength, or does it sound like a man who has lost himself? Marcus Aurelius warned us, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinions than our own." A man who seeks validation is not in control. He is a puppet. His strings pulled by the fear of rejection, the need to be liked, the desperation for approval. But a Stoic man? He stands firm in his worth, needing nothing from anyone. The world respects a man who validates himself. Think about it. Why are confident men so magnetic? Why do women, opportunities, and success follow them? Because they don't chase approval. They command respect. The moment you stop seeking validation, people start giving it to you. A man who doesn't need approval becomes unstoppable. Now let's test your mindset. If someone disrespects you, do you feel the need to prove yourself? If a woman ignores you, do you question your value? If so, you are letting others control you. Instead, do what the Stoics did. Seek wisdom, not approval. Build strength, not desperation. Ask yourself right now, if I stopped seeking validation, how would my life change? Because the truth is, weak men crave validation. Strong men create their own worth. Comment below. What's the biggest Stoic lesson that changed your mindset? 3. Compromise core values. Would you rather be liked or respected? Too many men sacrifice their core values just to fit in, impress others, or avoid conflict. But here's the brutal truth. The moment you compromise your values, you betray yourself. Have you ever agreed to something you didn't believe in just to avoid judgment? Have you ever stayed silent when you should have spoken up? The Stoics would call this weakness. A man without principles is a man without a foundation. So ask yourself, are you standing firm in your beliefs, or are you bending just to be accepted? Imagine a man who constantly changes his opinions, actions, and morals based on who he's with. One moment, he's disciplined. The next, he's following the crowd. This is not strength, it's surrender. Epictetus warned us, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. A real man doesn't compromise for approval. He stays true, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it costs him friendships, opportunities, or relationships. Because in the end, what's the point of success if you've lost yourself to get it? Think about the most powerful men in history, leaders, warriors, philosophers. What do they all have in common? They stood by their principles no matter the cost. A man who refuses to compromise his values earns respect. A man who bends to please others is forgotten. So the question is, do you want to be respected for who you are, or accepted for who you're pretending to be? Now, let's test your integrity. Have you ever gone against your beliefs just to keep someone happy? Have you ever ignored your gut feeling because it was easier? If so, it's time to change. The Stoics believed that true freedom comes from living in alignment with your principles. Every time you stand firm, you become stronger. Every time you compromise, you become weaker. So ask yourself, what do I stand for? And am I willing to protect it? Because the truth is, weak men sell their values. Strong men protect them. Comment below. What's one value you'll never compromise? 4. Be overly attached to outcomes. Are you chasing success or being controlled by it? Too many men tie their happiness to outcomes, whether it's a job, a relationship, or money. But here's the truth. The more attached you are to an outcome, the more power you give away. Have you ever felt frustrated when things didn't go as planned? Have you ever feared failure so much that you hesitated to take action? The Stoics would call this a trap. A real man focuses on effort, not results. So, ask yourself, are you in control, or is your desire for success controlling you? Marcus Aurelius taught, do what you must, let what happens happen. When you obsess over outcomes, you create anxiety. When you focus on the process, you create mastery. Picture a man desperate for a specific result. He overthinks, he hesitates, he panics when things don't go his way. But a Stoic? He takes action, accepts whatever comes, and moves forward without fear. The world is unpredictable. Success, failure, wins, losses, they all come and go. The only thing you control is your effort, your mindset, your discipline. So why waste energy on what you can't control? The moment you detach from results, you become unstoppable. Would you rather be free or be a slave to expectations? Comment below. What's one outcome you've learned to let go of? 5. Engage in manipulation or deception. Would you rather build trust or live a lie? Too many men resort to manipulation, thinking it will get them what they want, whether it's in relationships, business, or social life. But here's the truth. A man who relies on deception is a man who fears the truth. Have you ever exaggerated your success to impress someone? Have you ever twisted the truth to gain an advantage? The Stoics would call this weakness. True strength comes from honesty, not trickery. So ask yourself, are you building real respect or just a fragile illusion? Seneca once said, "A liar's punishment is that he is never believed, even when he speaks the truth." Manipulation might give you short-term wins, but it always leads to long-term losses. The moment people sense dishonesty, you lose credibility. And without credibility, you have nothing. A man who deceives others is ultimately deceiving himself, trapped in a cycle of lies, always fearing exposure, never at peace. But a man who stands on truth, he walks with confidence, free from the weight of deception. Think about it. Who do people truly admire? The one who plays games or the one who speaks with integrity? The world respects men who mean what they say and say what they mean. Honesty is power. Authenticity is rare. The choice is simple. Do you want to be trusted or do you want to be doubted? Comment below. What's one truth you live by no matter what? 6. Neglect personal growth for a relationship. Would you sacrifice your future just to keep someone in your present? Too many men make the mistake of losing themselves in relationships, abandoning their goals, neglecting their purpose, and forgetting who they are. But here's the truth. The moment you stop growing for someone else, you start shrinking as a man. Have you ever put your dreams on hold to make a relationship work? Have you ever felt like you were giving everything while losing yourself in the process? The Stoics would call this foolishness. A man's first duty is to his own growth. So, ask yourself, are you building your future, or are you sacrificing it for temporary comfort? Picture this. A man with ambition, discipline, and purpose meets someone he cares about. Slowly, he starts prioritizing their needs over his own. He skips the gym to spend more time together. He stops working on his passions to avoid conflict. Over time, he loses the fire that once made him attractive in the first place. Marcus Aurelius warned, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." A good man does not abandon his path for anyone. He stays the course no matter who walks beside him. Now think about the men who are truly respected. Leaders, warriors, visionaries. Do they put their purpose second to a relationship? Or do they continue growing, knowing that the right person will respect their journey? Weak men make relationships their identity. Strong men make relationships a part of their journey, not the destination. Because in the end, a woman does not respect a man who loses himself for her. She respects the man who remains unshaken in his mission. Ask yourself, have you ever neglected your personal growth for the sake of a relationship? If the answer is yes, it's time to change. The strongest relationships are not built on sacrifice of self. They are built on two individuals growing together. If someone truly values you, they will encourage your growth, not hinder it. But if you have to shrink to keep someone in your life, they were never meant to be there. So here's your challenge. Commit to your growth. Prioritize your purpose. Build yourself into the strongest version of you. Because the truth is, weak men lose themselves in relationships. Strong men continue their journey, with or without anyone beside them. Comment below. What's one personal goal you refuse to sacrifice? 7. Ignore red flags in character. Do you see the truth or just what you want to see? Too many men ignore red flags, whether in relationships, friendships, or business, believing things will get better or that they can fix someone. But here's the truth. Ignoring red flags doesn't make them disappear. It only makes the damage worse. Have you ever given someone too many chances only to regret it later? Have you ever overlooked clear warning signs because you didn't want to start over? The Stoics would call this self-deception. A wise man sees things as they are, not as he wishes them to be. So, ask yourself, are you facing reality, or are you running from it? Marcus Aurelius warned, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." And nothing corrupts your thoughts more than surrounding yourself with the wrong people. A dishonest friend, a disrespectful partner, an untrustworthy business associate. These are cracks in the foundation of your life. Ignore them, and the entire structure collapses. The question is, would you rather endure the short-term discomfort of walking away or the long-term suffering of staying? Think about the strongest men in history. leaders, warriors, philosophers. They did not surround themselves with the weak, the toxic, or the deceitful. They chose strength, loyalty, and integrity. Because the truth is, who you allow into your life shapes your destiny. If you ignore red flags, you are choosing failure before it even happens. A strong man cuts off what weakens him. A weak man makes excuses. Now, reflect for a moment. Have you ever stayed in a situation you knew was bad for you? Have you ever made excuses for someone's behavior instead of facing the truth? If so, it's time to change. A Stoic man does not tolerate dishonesty, disrespect, or disloyalty. He walks away the moment he sees the truth. So ask yourself, are you willing to let go of what's holding you back? Because the truth is, weak men ignore red flags. Strong men never tolerate them. Comment below, what's one red flag you'll never ignore again? 8. Prioritize lust over wisdom. Are you chasing pleasure or building a life of meaning? Too many men fall into the trap of prioritizing lust, chasing fleeting desires, short-term thrills, and meaningless pursuits, while neglecting wisdom, discipline, and true fulfillment. But here's the harsh truth. A man controlled by lust is a man without control at all. Have you ever made decisions based purely on desire, only to regret them later? Have you ever sacrificed your time, focus, or values for temporary pleasure? The Stoics would call this weakness. True power comes from mastery over desires, not slavery to them. So ask yourself, are you in control, or is your lust controlling you? Seneca once said, "Pleasure uncontrolled turns into punishment." Lust clouds judgment, weakens discipline, and distracts a man from his purpose. Think about it. How many great men have fallen, not because they lacked strength, but because they couldn't control their impulses? A man who prioritizes wisdom chooses long-term fulfillment over short-term gratification. A man who prioritizes lust chases empty highs and ends up feeling empty himself. The question is, are you living with purpose, or are you just seeking the next thrill? Look at the greatest men in history, leaders, warriors, philosophers. Did they build their legacy by chasing pleasure, or by mastering themselves, focusing on wisdom, discipline, and purpose? A weak man is ruled by his desires. A strong man rules over them. Because the truth is, pleasure fades, but wisdom lasts forever. Now think about your own life. Have you ever let lust distract you from your goals? Have you ever chosen momentary pleasure over long-term success? If so, it's time to change. A Stoic man does not let desires dictate his path. He walks his path with discipline, knowing that true fulfillment comes from within. So ask yourself, do you want to be a slave to pleasure or a master of your own destiny? Because the truth is, weak men chase lust. Strong men chase wisdom. Comment below, what's one desire you've learned to control? Let ego dictate actions. Are you leading with wisdom or being led by your ego? Too many men let their pride dictate their actions, refusing to admit mistakes, rejecting good advice, and making decisions based on arrogance rather than reason. But here's the truth. A man ruled by ego is a man destined to fall. Have you ever let pride stop you from apologizing? Have you ever ignored valuable advice just because it hurt your ego? The Stoics would call this foolishness. True strength comes from humility, not arrogance. So ask yourself, are you in control of your ego, or is your ego controlling you? Epictetus warned, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." Ego blinds you to growth. It keeps you stuck in bad decisions, bad habits, and bad relationships because you refuse to acknowledge the truth. A man who cannot humble himself will never improve. But the man who can silence his ego and seek wisdom, he becomes unstoppable. The question is, would you rather be seen as right or actually become better? Think about the strongest men in history, leaders, warriors, thinkers. Did they let their ego dictate their actions, or did they remain open to learning, adapting, and improving? A weak man defends his pride. A strong man defends his principles. Because the truth is, ego seeks validation, but wisdom seeks progress. Now take a hard look at yourself. Have you ever let pride hold you back? Have you ever avoided doing the right thing just because it meant admitting you were wrong? If so, it's time to change. A Stoic man understands that strength is not in always being right, it's in always being willing to grow. So ask yourself, are you willing to let go of ego to become your best self? Because the truth is, weak men serve their ego. Strong men master it. Comment below, what's one lesson that humbled you and made you stronger?